All right, hey YouTube, how you doing, man? It's Nate again. Um, I got an email. Uh, first email. Second question. First email. Uh, Shout out to Chris from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or Fort Lauderdale, Texas. Sorry, I had to check the thing. Um, the question was, can I go in more into what my mindset is now, and what do I mean by living free? What books have I read? What books do I recommend? And more what state of mind of my state of mind and what happened to me while I was away. So, as far as my mindset now is basically I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to stay free and be a productive member of society. And when I say productive member, I mean provide for my children and for my family and for my tribe, and make sure that everybody has the things that they need and require to live a fruitful life. That's my responsibility as the man of the home. And this includes my wife, my children, extended family members as well. Nobody's cut out from this, but the basic mindset is anything other than getting in trouble. See, it's not just that broad, I'll do whatever it has to take. No, I no longer feel that way. It's I'll do instead of going back to crime or anything that may be seen as untoward or illegal. I would get a second job or a third job even if I needed it. You know, if I gotta work more, I just work more. Um, and as far as I hope that answered that part. As far as living free and what I feel is living free and how I feel about that is, man, it's the little things that you don't realize that you miss until they're not there. Being able to just walk out in my backyard and just look at the trees, the wind blowing through the trees, this is part of living free. Being able to get into one of my vehicles and just drive, these are part of living free. Being there for every child that has been born in my family since I've come home, these are all parts of living free to me. Going to games, going to football games for the kids, and basketball games, and soccer games, and taekwondo competitions. All of these things are part of living free to me. Enjoying life. All the stuff that in my previous life I would have looked at as square stuff. These are all the things that I enjoy so much now. And I enjoy way more than I ever thought I could. Really. Um, as far as books that I've read, that I read while incarcerated, well, I read so many books. It's ridiculous. While I was incarcerated, I actually did get my high school diploma and started to get a psychology degree while incarcerated. Um, but some of the main books that stick into my head, of course, after the Quran and Sunnah, is there's an author named Robert Greene, and he wrote the 48 Laws of Power. I believe the 33 Strategies of War. 33 Strategies of War, 48 Laws of Power, The Art of Seduction, The 50th Law with 50 Cent. Um, all these books, I believe, will help build you stronger psychologically. If you know what to do. They're not necessarily books needed or used to manipulate people, but to understand the way people think better, and understanding how to use those things for the better, hopefully not for evil. Um, I read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Pretty good book if you're into strategy type books. There's a book called The Lies My Teacher Told Me. I think it's by I don't remember the name by the author, but and another one is American History X. Uh, Pretty good stuff to read. I recommend that American History X, definitely, especially if you're of, I mean, even if you're not of color, black, Mexican, or anything like that. Even if you're white, it doesn't matter. I think it's knowledge that you need to have. There's a book by Suzanne Hanif called "What Everybody Should Know About Muslims" too, and I think a lot of people need to read that book. What happened to me? My state of mind about what happened to me while in prison. And for the record, let me put this out there. All that bust cheek stuff, nah, not everybody does that stuff in prison. Now, whatever, the brother Big Hurt, shout out, put in his videos about that stuff, not in state. Bloods don't do that at all. And if they do, they get removed by their own homeboys. So, yeah. My state of mind, honestly, it got to the point where I became hyper vigilant, where I always felt like I needed to be on guard. I always felt like I needed to be ready for whatever, because you never knew what was going to come or how it was going to come. I mean, you can keep yourself and weave yourself out the way of certain stuff, but you never knew exactly how stuff was going to happen. It just popped off, and when it popped off, it was just about how you reacted. So my state of mind became more hyper vigilant. And what made me, what you asked, what happened to make me actually start changing? It was one of the main things that happened was I had been granted family visits, which would be conjugal visits, which visits with your wife. And I was, enjoying those or whatever. And they got taken away, and they kept getting taken away because I was on that maximum security yard. And every time it popped off and there was a lockdown, everything got canceled. And even after I stopped being a blood, stopped gangbanging actively, I was still in my file, written down as a blood, and you can't get that out of your file unless you debrief or /snitch. And I wasn't going to do that, so that's still in my file to this day. So I hope I answered your questions. Keep them coming. If there's any other topics you want me to expound on, I'll try to do a topic at a time. But once again, shout out to Chris. Thanks for the questions, bro.